I'm trying to take more time for myself, spending time doing new things. Take this piece, for example. I have a friend I was able to get this wood cookie from and wanted to make a thing. I've done some woodworking before, but never could call myself skilled. Maybe a solid 7 out of 10. Wood burning is also something I had never tried, so why not start on a big piece, right? Yeah. I'm not making this for sale, though. Also not making this for praise. I'm making this because I wanted to know what it feels like to put the effort in to create this kind of art. Challenge myself and maybe even find a new hobby. That's the same logic that led me to making YouTube videos. I'd say I watch more content on YouTube than anywhere else, likely more than all other media I take in. And I don't think I can make a living off of wood-burning art or YouTube, not without a lot of dedicated effort, but that shouldn't be the only motivator in trying something new. Trying new things is key in learning about ourselves and what is important to us. I've hesitated on trying new things in the past for fear of how bad I would be at them or how much I might not enjoy them. And recently, I feel like that's been a bit restrictive. Growing up, I was so open to new things, but the older I got, I would look for the guaranteed hits, things I knew I was more likely to enjoy than not, or even just returning to something familiar. And this got me thinking about my relationship with media. As someone who almost always has a podcast or show or something on, even just as background noise, I realized I've rewatched or re-listened to things a lot. I think that's pretty common though. The easy explanation is that watching or listening to something familiar doesn't demand your full attention, which makes multitasking easier. You don't want to spend more time washing dishes than you need to, so you put on something that feels comfortable. That way you aren't distracted from the chores you're doing to catch a scene or sing or dance, you know? It's almost a distraction to avoid distraction. Now, when I started thinking about this, I realized I've classified things in a strange way for a while now. Not only was something good or bad, I'd rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, and I'd tack on an addendum. 9 for great contemplation, a 10 meant for discussion, a 7 good for background noise. I'd say it's only in the past decade or so I've really noticed myself doing this, and it's not like I've ever formalized my ratings. As someone who has long felt like dependency on labeling things can be as reductive as it can be helpful, I understood why I was so quick to toss some of those labels out, but I was curious why I was still so focused on the number as well. So I decided to make this video. Help me flesh it out, you know? And I feel like focusing on the media I take in the most is a good place to start. And it's media I've come to describe as worthwhile 7 out of 10s. Let's start with a baseline definition. More often than not, I've seen discussions of things' value treated as a binary worth it or not while seeing a score next to it. Why even have a score though if the end result must be 80 or higher to get my full attention? The score is a simple reference point, and one I've used for ages. I'd argue most of us have. I realized that I put a lot of things in that 7 or 8 range though. I viewed the 7 or 8s as good, but there was something better out there. On a 10-point scale, 10 being the pinnacle of the format, 0 being irredeemable trek, 7 is above average. We may not rant and rave about it the same way we will the 10 or 0, but I think there's some real value in those experiences. So what makes a 7 for me? Easy. It's above average. That's all. Thanks for watching. No, obviously kidding. That would make for a pretty weak discussion. So, let's dig in proper. Sevens to me are certainly above average, but they have the potential for something more. They are a nice piece of media I feel has real care put in. There's something I really enjoyed, but maybe can't say is a must-see for everyone else. Something that wasn't going to change the world or become genre-defining, but left a mark on me. Above average in a way that inspires more thought than passive appreciation. It's ambiguous, I know. But this is my video, and I'm trying to figure this out. So if you have an idea on how to describe this better, please leave a comment. Let me know. Till then, some examples might help me flesh out these ideas. Let's talk about a few. I want to start with one of my latest obsessions. Thanks to a few things, I'm becoming more of a weeb than I ever have been before. Some new anime on Netflix, Japanese shows, and also some music have got me wanting to learn Japanese. The new obsession is Hitsuji Bungaku, a Japanese alt-rock band. They got most of their North American attention thanks to their track More Than Words, No It's Not a Cover, which was used as the ending of the Shibuya arc of Jujutsu Kaisen. Which actually, it's an anime I've never seen. I actually found the track thanks to the YouTube channel The First Take. It was just a random video that came up while I was playing Hades 2, I think, and something about it really caught my ear. It's a pretty overall safe, shoegazy alt-rock track, but the arrangement called out to me somehow. Beginning with a steady, driving drum beat that pushes a soft guitar and paced bass forward. Now it picks up at the chorus, a stiffer middle, and then over time it builds into a pure sonic wall that finally comes down and ends as the song began. Not an uncommon arrangement, but it is a well-structured one. So I turned on the English subtitles to see what they were saying. Thank you, English subtitles. We need more international subtitles, I feel. Now, it's a pretty simple track about struggling with finding your purpose and pushing forward to greater heights, sung from the perspective of a friend who's been there too. There to help you through it all. No line truly stood out to me as outstanding, but it was well structured and solid. Yet there I was still enchanted by this track. I'm fixated on it, but would have given it a 7 out of 10. Nothing standout, nothing bad. I started looking to find out more about the song though, and I see they have an official music video for it. And that was the final piece that locked this song in as something special to me. It opens with lead singer Moeka Shiotsuka thrashing about manically for a second or so before the track even kicks in. The shot carries on for almost a minute, focused tight on her face as she dances, not out of joy, almost pained by it. The next proper scene shows her in a bright lit room, stress and anxiety clear on her face, until she finally steps out into the night trying to find her place in the world. All in all, simple storytelling, but it finally clicked. There was nothing revolutionary in any of this, no one thing that makes this song special, but the complete experience of it. The video, the arrangement, the lyrics, it was all built around telling this particular story, and everyone involved knew the assignment and came to play. It's like in team sports. You can have a league star, but if the rest of the team isn't performing, it doesn't really matter. And as a Minnesota Vikings fan, I am far too familiar with this pain. This song was crafted with purpose and care. And I'm not ashamed to admit, I may have been a bit overtired at the time, but the video legit brought tears to my eyes. That alone should make it a 10 out of 10, but really I can't say it's the most profound track I've ever heard, not even one of the most profound ones covering that feeling of being trapped in a rut, wondering what it will take to find your purpose. I can't suggest it wholeheartedly because the track is in Japanese, and I know a lot of people struggle with songs in a language they don't understand. But it's still a song that quite likely will end up on my yearly Spotify rap playlist, and one I think deserves all the love it can get. So is that it? Is my mythical 7 out of 10 a thing that just has all the pieces coming together beautifully? Well, I had that challenge when a friend of mine suggested I make a list of my all-time favorite games. It honestly sounded like a fun thought experiment, so in I dived. He showed me the site backlogged, so I made an account, and in the first night, I compiled a list of like 60 or 70 games I figured would make the list. I would go on to start ranking them and knew I would keep adding more because I wanted at least 100 on that thing. It's a living list. It's likely to change over time, and it's something I've had some real fun doing. Reflecting on the games that stick out in my mind and what it is about them that left their mark on me. It's almost like a meditation. There were some very easy calls I knew would make the list, like Chrono Trigger, Cyberpunk 2077, Castle Crashers. Apparently I like games that start with C, and C grades are like 70s. But there was one game that kind of shocked me when it popped into my head. The Beginner's Guide, Davey Redden's follow-up after the Stanley Parable, which was a hilarious and clever experience to say the least. I remember checking it out from a friend's recommendation despite never hearing about it, which was strange given how popular the Stanley Parable was amongst my social network. It's an hour or two to play, and its game in a loose sense, walking simulator may be the best descriptor. But it tells a fascinating story of one developer showcasing another's work in an attempt to inspire this other creator to make more. Or at least, that was their initial intention. See, Redden is sharing the incomplete works of indie developer Coda, and over time sees specific themes of isolation growing more and more prevalent. I don't want to spoil anything here because this is a very short experience, and I think one that could be quite impactful for anyone early in a creative endeavor. Immediately after rolling credits, I would have given it a 7 out of 10. Maybe not my normal preferred game style, but a fascinating experience. But I sat with it and realized it's so much deeper than I had expected. Especially given the inanity of the Stanley Parable, it was a profound moment for me, given at the time I was editing and producing a podcast for others and hadn't really considered what it was I needed or wanted out of this experience. I was just having fun making something I felt proud of. It got me to reshape my thoughts on creative effort and intent. It's an experience I've held close for years. But I did mention it's a game in a loose sense, and walking simulator is a almost dirty phrase to some gamers. It's not a game I think everyone should play, and oddly, one I think is meant more for people exploring their creativity rather than gamers. So an incredible experience, but not one I can recommend full-chested, which doesn't make it lesser at all, just maybe a more specific audience. Worth a try if you're open to asking yourself what it means to create and what responsibility you have through that. So, it's a new addition to the description. An experience where all the pieces come together beautifully, and even though it may serve a niche audience, it inspires introspection. This sounds good. But then in comes my newer weebishness, and Netflix suggests Midnight Diner Tokyo stories. The blurb seems interesting enough, also seems tame enough that it could be a good show to wind down to before bed, so I toss on the first episode. Japanese audio only. Should have assumed. I'm perfectly comfortable reading subtitles, but it does mean all my attention has to be on the show, which makes it a bit harder of a wind-down watch. I'm in my trying things phase though, and I know that if I don't commit to this episode, the show's gonna drop off my radar. So the first is focused on a radio announcer who meets a cab driver at a late-night diner. They bond over appreciation of a dish, though the cab driver seems familiar to the radio host. Turns out the cab driver was an actor on the superhero show the announcer watched and loved. He talks about her on a show, having wondered for years what happened to her after she left the series. We found out why she left the show and the industry, and we get a kind of touching story that started out as a simple romantic comedy, but turns into a nice story about empathy, respecting the privacy of others, and the cherry on top, trans acceptance. It's all right up my alley, and yet I wasn't going to say this had the makings of a new favorite for me. The budget felt pretty low, the acting was good, but not incredible. It's fully episodic, so no major storylines that can hook you from one episode to the next. Only recurring characters do that. But all in all, I would have given it a 7 out of 10 if you're up for just chill comfort viewing. But then I talked to a friend about it. It turns out he too had a similar reaction. And that was absolutely beautiful to me. We were able to talk about a thing without having to delve too deeply. We weren't saddled with any franchise baggage, so we were able to take in the show for what it was. Which is funny considering I later discovered that Tokyo Stories is a Japanese Netflix relaunch of the original show. We've occasionally discussed the show since. I've started from the beginning of the series and have really enjoyed it. It's consistently lived up to that rating of 7 or 8 out of 10 that's a nice chill comfort, and at times makes you really feel and fall for its characters. And it's become a favorite for me and my friend. Now, this isn't a foundational show. It's not even something I will strongly suggest to anyone, but is that the bar for quality? Should it be? Sometimes those things which aren't perfect can still hold meaning for us. And feeling like we can only fully love or loathe a thing creates this impossible ideal to live up to. It can prevent someone from taking a chance on a thing that has meaning to them, even if only to them. There can always be an excuse not to try a thing, but why not try something new and different every now and again and see what else the world has to offer us? A life without new experiences feels a bit too static and frankly kind of boring to me. And when it comes to media, who cares if I take a stab at a thing and don't like it? Especially with the sheer amount of media readily accessible to us. What do we lose but a little bit of our time? It's a tangent, I know, but one I think also holds some meaning here. Though one can't really be counted as part of my rubric. You can't really make new to you a point on the scale because that would mean I would have to knock Princess Bride down given how many times I've seen it, so let's just put a pin in that for now. So what are the expanded parameters on what a 7 is for me for my time with Midnight Diner? Not revolutionary, but a committed effort to holistically tell a story. A piece that inspires introspection, but also feels like a comfortable experience. I feel like I'm getting overly specific here. Maybe some films could help lock this in for me. But I can't just pick a single movie that best sums up my appreciation for the 7 out of 10s. I spent some time on IMDb looking at 70 to 80% rated films, and man, there were some absolute classics in there. So humor me for a minute, and let's discuss some films I personally feel fit that 7 out of 10 rank. It's kind of a funny story, it's a strange coming-of-age tale that plays it pretty safe given it takes place in a psychiatric care unit. I loved John Krasinski and Maya Rudolph in Away We Go, a sweet rom-com road trip movie. Clerks isn't perfect by any measure, but damn do I enjoy it. But seriously, go to IMDb sometime and do a search on movies rated around that 7 or 8 mark. It only shows you that for a general audience, 7s and up are just good movies. Some greats are even ranked in that range. It could be that they're contrarian opinions, bringing down the average rating. I mean, Lord knows we all have that acquaintance who loves to tell you why a popular thing is bad. Now, I think that certainly plays a role, but I also think we need to take into account that good media sometimes is enhanced or devalued based on where its audience is both emotionally and in their own journey. I watched It's Kind of a Funny Story when I was struggling with feeling any real value in myself. Clerks didn't hit home hard for me until I was in my 20s working at a grocery store. I've never moved in with a partner nor even come close to having a kid with someone. But Away We Go caught me as I was considering if I made the right call in moving to Canada from Minnesota. It seems clear to me that my own personal experience affected my appreciation of these films. So maybe that's true of most media. I do believe having a certain part of ourselves we can see in the stories we take in enhances our appreciation of them. It kind of tells me this whole descriptor I've been talking about, this 7 out of 10 rating, is possibly reductive to a fault. Because one person's 10 could be another's 4, and that makes it a 7 overall, right? But I think something hitting a general 7 is just saying it's worth a shot. And that has to mean something. Taking a chance on a game or show or movie is basically one of the lowest risk chances we can take, but it can build out our worldview, our interests, or ourselves as a person. We take that easy risk, maybe the more daunting ones are doable as well. I've shifted my thoughts on this over the years, and I've landed on the belief that ratings are really just there to determine the general acceptance of a thing. I don't know if there ever will really be a universal 10. Different strokes for different folks. The number or the grade means less to me if I don't know the person giving it and how they got that score. Just like tier lists, ranking one thing to another forces us to think about what makes something special to us or what is personally important. I have many friends who adore horror, and I'm not a fan. I respond to fear with a lot more fight than flight. I get angry, and I don't really want to invite that into my life too often. I'll never say, though, that the whole of the horror genre is bad, because it just isn't my taste. Even if I wanted to, I still can't deny that The Shining is a masterful film. The Haunting of Hill House was actually a great show. And I had some incredible fun playing Phasmophobia with friends on a charity stream years ago. So while my ranking of horror media in general will be lower than others, that's really just because I know I am not typically a fan of the format. Which is hilarious, since my first foray into any content creation after graduating from radio broadcasting school was editing and producing a horror real play podcast. So, why do I love what I dub the sevens? It's because I think they help me realize that ratings aren't actually that important. At least not in a general sense. In a general sense, seeing a 9 or 10 rating is impressive, but I know there have been things generally rated at 7 that hit me just as hard as the things at 10. It's that realization that got me to try more things, open to the fact I may not enjoy them, but I may find something that hits home for me. It's these revelations that got me really considering what is important to me. Through this semi-conscious journey over many years, I've learned that storyline and personal impact are what hits me the hardest. Give me a character who faces their weaknesses, flaws, and I'm in. Give me a story that has a complete focus and effort, even if the quality isn't perfect. Give me something to reflect on, something worth discussion. Give me something I can just take in and appreciate for what it is. Give me it all, really. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing really is. It's no secret that there was a mad content flood vying to keep our attention. Hell, I'm adding to it right now. YouTube very likely holds a majority of the media I take in, and there is an insane amount of content waiting for a willing viewer. One favorite is Versus Wolves, a monthly show where two incredible presenters recommend something to the other, and then they discuss it the following month, ranking the experiences at the end. They sum up my thoughts on ratings by discussing experiences like Berserk, or Darkest Dungeon, or Caribbean food, or boxing a friend. I mean, how the hell can you compare these drastically different experiences? Well, it's all on personal vibes. And in the end, they recognize it's not that serious. But think about that. I go on an extended rant about number ranking not being that important at large, and one of my favorite shows is all about ranking things. Well, I think it's because they address that in the end, you can only make lists like these by recognizing that they're not important at all. The rankings, they aren't for anyone else but for yourself. The experience and discussion, that's what matters. Yeah, tangent over. Back to the glut of content. There's Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, countless streamers. So much content available, and sure, it's nice to return to an old favorite, but if I wasn't willing to take a risk on something new, I wouldn't have experienced the greatness of Midnight Diner, or I Think You Should Leave, Queen of Villains, or Shameless. I have plenty of personal favorite bands, but discovering Hitsuji Bangaku or acts like Little V Mills, Alex Mukala, Limes, I mean, they're all incredible. If I had waited for game reviews to tell me what was worth playing, I don't know that Cyberpunk holds the same importance to me, but I've also taken a gamble on things like Power Wash Simulator, RV There Yet, The Beginner's Guide, and had it pay off. Not every gamble will, but what are we really risking? What do we lose, other than maybe an hour of our time? And of course, the financial investment with things like theater trips and games, but Tuesday matinees can help alleviate that cost for theater trips, and there's always games for sale. I mean, Humble Bundle, good old that gamble, those risks, they just mean I can have broader reference points. If I really wanted to stick with review scores, I feel like grading on a 10-point scale with caveats is my preferred way to go. For the most part, everything I've mentioned before is in that 7 out of 10 ranking for me, with their own caveats. I enjoyed my time with them, I'll talk about them, but I'm not chomping at the bit to tell others they need to give them a shot. The rating is there as a snapshot, inviting someone to an actual review or discussion, because at the end of the day, that rating isn't an objective review of the quality of the media, just my subjective experience with it. And if someone really wants to know if a thing will hold worth for them, the reviews, the in-depth discussions, that's what will do more than any rating could. And strangely, it's the above average, not perfect 7 out of 10s that got me here, telling any and all who will listen that maybe they should take those risks every now and again. Now, let me be so very clear, I'm not saying we should ignore all review scores. Go with our gut. I'm saying take a shot on some more 7s. Try that new thing you weren't sure about, because how the hell are you supposed to know if it's for you without experiencing it? Take a gamble the next time you are looking for something to watch or listen to, because we have a wholly different media landscape than when I was growing up. It's not often I actually hear the radio or experience a non-corporately curated playlist, so exposure to new music is limited. I don't even know if channel surfing is something most people experience anymore, so who knows when you might find a new show that catches your eye. But those discoveries are wonderful. They help refine our tastes, and in the best case, refine who we are as people. They are a chance to learn something about the larger world around us. They give us new discussion points with friends, or are an entryway to meeting a friendly stranger. They are worthwhile, and really, not often are they actually risky. We may find a 10. We may find a 0. But more often than not, I think we find those 7s, and that's not a bad thing. It's those 7 out of 10s that can help comfort someone, sure. But they can also inspire taking a first step into their own bits of expression. I didn't realize it at first, but it's stuff like that that led me to make this piece here. It's crude. The line work is not perfect. My technique surely could be refined by someone with actual experience with word blurring or etching. See, I don't even know what to call it. But I wanted to make the thing as I had the lumber left over from a different project. And all that imperfection, all that crudeness, it doesn't matter to me because, damn, I love this piece. It's got some personal ties. It's a reminder of the podcast I edited and produced and the community around it. I was once a more active member there, and it gave me this nickname. It will always remind me of my friend Mayo, who helped me with kanji, to give me that taste of the Japanese side of my heritage. It gave me a chance to do something new, and for me, no expectations, no concern for failure, just making something for the sake of making it. I do believe we all need our little bits of expression without expectation. I think it keeps us grounded in a world that demands pure productivity. I think the crudeness can be a reminder that constantly needing perfection is unattainable, and that there is no such thing as a universal 10 out of 10 because personal preference will always be a thing. But I also think it's a symbol of a first step. It might not be perfect, but with ambition and care, the next piece will be better, as will the next, and the one after that. Now, this piece right here will live for me as long as I want. It will never have any true value as a piece of art to anyone else, but that makes it a special kind of perfect. A 7 out of 10, if you are someone who has never felt too deeply connected to half of his ancestry, though was still somewhat defined by it. A title that became an identifying marker for some of his closest friends and his largest claim to fame. And it's a great reminder that personal importance is all a piece of art or media needs to be just right for you. But it also can just be a thing that you like. No deeper meaning than that. Or, maybe it's something you see the potential in, but didn't quite hit it. Wait, now that I think about it, I should have been saying 7 or 8 out of 10. Why don't we start? Thanks for watching this. I hope it got you thinking. Maybe you had a few things come to mind as your own great 7s. Toss them in the comments, and let's get a little Versus Wolves style book club going. And if you want to see me go into deeper dives on things like this, I'm going to start streaming for fun. Maybe call it the Sunday 7s. It'll be me sometimes with a friend, mostly playing a game and talking about, I'll start with reviews, but really I'm just open to talking about anything. So if you're up to some fun, casual discussions, have your own suggestions, or even just want to hear more of my ramblings, join me on Twitch. I'll stream Sunday afternoons and maybe more down the line if I find I'm having fun with it.